edition of Parent University, the high school choice process. I am Alyssa Taylor Stewart, and I'm an administrator with the Equity Engagement and Partnerships Office. And I'm very excited to be here with my colleague, Stephanie Heilig, because she has lots and lots of very important information to share with you all tonight. So please grab a pen and a piece of paper and jot down your questions as they come up throughout the presentation. Then add your questions to the chat feature in the Zoom, and we'll answer them after the presentation during the Q&A section of tonight's workshop. If your question is not answered tonight, or if you have additional questions, don't worry. Just reach out to Stephanie directly. Her information will be in the slides, it'll be in the chat, and we'll make sure it's available to you. She also has a special way for you to ask specific questions that pertain maybe to you and your child directly. So get ready for a wonderful hour of information, lots and lots of information. And I'd like to welcome my friend and my colleague, Stephanie Heilig.
Thank you very much, Alyssa. And it is absolutely my pleasure to be here. Thank you, everybody, for having me. And again, I'm Stephanie Heilig, and I am honored to serve in my second year as the Choice Administrator for High School and Middle School Choice. I know tonight some of you may be tuning in for middle school choice. Tonight's presentation will focus on the high school choice process. And so we're going to go ahead and get started on that so we have plenty of time for questions at the end. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, and we will get started. There we go. All right. So I wanted to go over some of the goals for tonight. I want all of you to know that our school of choice process involves picking a high school and a program at the high school. We are going to go over some key elements of each phase of the choice process. And then at the very end, as Alyssa explained, you'll be able to ask questions about the high school choice process. Now, before we get started, I want all of you to take a deep, deep breath, okay? So whether you're tuning in as a parent or whether you are a student, I know exactly how difficult this process may be. I have been a teacher for the district for a very long time, but I am also the parent of 2 high schoolers, so I've gone through this process twice. I promise you, you will get through it. My goal is to give you a lot of information so you can make a very informed decision. This is a very exciting time in your student's life because honestly, they're planning for their future life, and you will see a big transition between middle school and high school. So again, take a super deep breath. We're going to get you started. Okay, so as Alyssa explained for questions, if you have general questions, I would love for you to jot them down during the presentation. You are welcome to use the chat feature. You can put your questions there, but sometimes when people are too busy using the chat feature, you may miss or not listen to or not hear the answer to your questions. So certainly write them down. You can maybe cross off the ones that don't need to be explained or I already covered, and then you can put them in that chat feature at the end. If you have super specific questions that aren't maybe for the good of the group, it involves just your student, a particular grade in a class, or you would like a specific information, you want me to contact you personally, there's a link here for a specific question form, and that will generate, it's a Google form, and it will be sent directly to me. And over the next couple of weeks, my staff and I will take some time to return those. It'll ask for your phone number, your email. We definitely want to get a hold of you so we can go over those questions for you. But again, my goal is that I will answer all of your questions so that you can have a very easy and smooth experience. So let's get started with our first goal. I need you to know that Long Beach Unified has a variety of high schools. There are 2 main types of high schools. We have 11 high schools in all. I know that's hard to believe. We are an extremely large district. We have 6 comprehensive schools, which are large, and they offer full CIF sports and a variety of electives. These would be your traditional schools. Those are Cabrillo, Jordan, Lakewood, Milliken, Pauley, and Wilson. Special to our district, we have 5 thematic high schools, and these schools are smaller and they are surrounded by a theme, which we'll explain a little bit about a pathway theme. And these schools do not offer, with the exception of CAMS, they do not offer sports, CIF sports, they offer intramurals, but they are definitely smaller. And so if you're looking for a non-traditional approach to high school, this could be the high school for you. We have Browning Culinary Early College. We have CAMS, McBride, Renaissance, and Sotto. So I always like to present this because I think one of the first questions that you need to decide is, do I want a really big traditional high school, or am I looking for an alternative experience? And so one of the first questions is you might want to think, which school do I think I want to go to? That may help narrow down some of your choices. Now, in Long Beach, I need you to know that students choose not just a high school. So it's not like, for those of you that are parents, when we all went to school, you picked a high school and that was it. Unlike when we were in school, and these are for you students, you're going to pick a high school and a program at that high school. So you can't just say, I'm going to go to Poly, I'm going to go to Cabrillo. You have to pick a program at that particular school. We have two types of programs, which I will explain in just a minute. We have our specialized programs, which are liberal arts and magnet programs. And then we have what we call pathway programs that are surrounded around linked learning. All of these programs prepare students for college and careers. So we've gotten the question, which one of these are college prep? They are all college prep, and all of them will prepare you for college and careers. So I'd like to take a little bit of a deep dive into both. Now, don't stress out with this next slide, but these are all of our programs. So you can see here, these are the specialized programs, which I'm going to get into in a moment. And then we have our pathway programs. This slide is great if you want to go back to and refer to them in a moment. So first, I want to take a dive into our specialized programs. So let's talk about those. Our specialized programs have been around for, in many ways, the original programs or small learning communities that we had, or SLCs, in Long Beach. These have a long-standing tradition of excellence and achievement. They are rigorous. They include predetermined AP scores, but they can offer some flexibility with your elective choices. There are minimum entrance requirements for these programs with GPA, SBAC, and if you are an 8th grader, you have to be currently enrolled in algebra. And those specialized programs can be found at Poly. There are two, which are CIC and PACE, Millikan Quest, Wilson Wave, and Lakewood's Merit Scholars. And so these programs, again, are our traditional programs that have been around for a really long time. So we'll dig into a little bit about pathway programs, or what we typically call pathways. So the first question is, and I know this word doesn't translate easily, but what is a pathway? A street doesn't quite make sense. Well, a pathway is a small learning community of students that take courses that are connected to an industry theme or an area of study. And so these are connected to the Linked Learning Alliance. This particular company or organization has identified 15 industry sectors and pathways in California. And so if you take a look at the diagram that's here, you can see all of the industry sectors and pathways. In Long Beach Unified, we offer almost 40 pathways in 11 of these major industry sectors that are found in California. We typically try to focus on those in Southern California because that's where our district is. So there are 4 components to a pathway program: rigorous academics, career-based learning, work-based learning, and personalized support. So how does this all work? Well, when you go into a pathway, you pick an industry theme. You will take one specific elective class that will teach you content skills connected to that industry, and that is your elective for that year. Then you will still take your general classes: English, math, science, history, PE, sport, marching band, those kinds of things. But in that particular case, these classes here weave in the theme, the industry theme, into their learning. So I like to kind of try to explain this as an ice cream flavor. So I love chocolate. I would probably try anything with chocolate. Chocolate covered macadamia nuts, chocolate covered potato chips. That is a thing. I've tried them. They're very good. I would try all those things. So think of the industry theme as a flavor. And so all of your learning is connected to that theme with the idea that it makes what you are learning relevant to you. So it really works quite well. So how does it work in the big grand scheme of things? Because I know it can seem very daunting, like, oh my gosh, I have to choose my major. Not exactly. So let me try to explain. Our middle school has electives that are aligned to its surrounding high schools. Sorry, the word schools is there twice. I must mean that it's very important. And then in high school, students will take A through G courses. That's all of your English, math, history, and science that will prepare them for your college and careers. Now, from high school, once you graduate, some students, and I would say it's very rare, but some students know what they want to do. Some of you know what you want to do right now. I think you're rare and that's amazing. But a lot of kids will say, I really liked this pathway. I will pick a college major that is similar to the pathway theme that I had. Great. Other students say, I liked it, but it's not really my cup of tea. I want to pick a college major completely unrelated. Now, you might think it's a waste of time, but again, the way that our pathways are designed is they are industry areas that are very global or can apply to any of the majors that you take. Technology, for example, we have technology in many of our pathways. You're going to need technology as you prepare for your future life. So technology can really apply to any major that you take. So you can go into a college major and say, you know what, I'm going to apply those skills that I learned, and I will take that with my college major. And then finally, many students say, college isn't for me. I want to use these skills and knowledge and go directly into the workforce, or I want to go get a certificate or go into a kind of a program that'll prepare you in a couple of years to enter directly into the workforce. And so the result of pathways is that you will get content skills. And then I know the buzzword is to use the word essential skills, soft skills. I prefer to use the word essential skills. So the idea is that you're going to get both. And with weaving those both in, those are what you need to be successful. And so that is how our pathway programs work. All right. I'm going to take a pause there and kind of go over. Hopefully we've covered that our school of choice program involves picking both a high school and a program together with that. So we're going to move on to our next goal. I'm going to wait actually and see, are there any questions in the chat that I need to go over before we continue? Anything that's pressing, or if not, we can move on. So I'll pause and I'll wait for perhaps my moderator to let me know if we need anything, because I can go back. If not, we're going to move on to number 2.
There is one question. One of our parents, yes, one of our parents would like to know, when will the presentation for middle school choice be?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I need to be on my A game for that. That is a wonderful question. And I would have to check our calendar, Miss Alyssa. I think it's in March or February. So the middle school choice process will be pressed back a little bit. It doesn't even open until March. So I believe we will do our presentation either February or March.
So be on the lookout for more information.
Next year and make it be real next year.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. If there are no others, should we go to number 2, Alyssa? I'll pause.
Absolutely. Oh, wait, one's coming up.
Okay, I love it.
So you have one that says asking if there's only one elective offered.
So it depends on the school. Some have 2, but typically in your freshman year, there is 1 elective that you take. Now, keep in mind, sometimes the pathway is the elective. So if you pick an arts pathway, for example, all students have to take a fine art elective. So that could be the pathway course, but typically students will take 1. And then depending on the pathway, some years there won't be an elective for the pathway. And so it does free up students to take a few more. So the main goal that when you go into high school is you want to get all of your A through G requirements finished. So you need a certain amount of, you'll take English for 4 years, but math, science, and history, you don't always have to take 4 years. And so that frees you up to take electives. So depending on the pathway, and I'll show you where to find that information, you can take a look and see some sample programs for the different pathways. And then you can kind of compare and contrast. So we'll go into that under number 2 on our presentation goals.
So there are a couple more questions coming in, Stephanie, and you might want to ask them now, or you might want to reach back out. But one of the questions is if you can share a little more clarification between PACE and CIC.
Yeah, so that one, I'll show the students where to get that information, but I think that one will be a little bit more specific. I'll tell you what. I would love to move into number 2 because I think some of the questions are coming. So let's move into number 2. Yeah, and then I can show. Yeah, if that's okay. And then I can show parents where to get that. If I still don't answer it, we can come back to it. So you all keep me honest over there, okay? So we'll go into number 2 so we can get a little bit into our presentation goals. All right, so let's talk about our timeline. So this is for matriculating 8th to 9th graders. We have 4 different phases of the school of choice process. There's the prepare phase, which is now through February, the explore phase, which is where you get to start digging in, and you can see that's now, we've doubled up a little bit on that. The apply phase happens in February, and the assignments will occur in March. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time to explain each of these 4 phases, okay? All right, so let's talk about the prepare phase. And I need you to know, some of you I know are tuning in. You are current Long Beach Unified students. Some of you are tuning in from outside the district. And there are 2 very different ways to prepare for school of choice. So let's dig into these 2. First, if you are a current Long Beach Unified student, right now you are enrolled in a middle school in Long Beach Unified. What you will make sure that you do to prepare, you are ready to go. You just need to make sure that Parent View is up to date. Now, it may have been a minute since you were on here. I bet the last time for some of you making changes could have been when you did 5th grade choice, 5th grade to 6th grade. So that could have been the last time that you were on Parent View. And it's really important to make sure that all of the information in Parent View is current. So the address that's in Parent View, that's what we use to identify your high school of residence. Extremely important. So if life has changed for you and your family, you're going to want to make sure you make those updates. So there's a couple of things you can do. You go to lbschools.net. On the very top, you'll see some tabs. If you click on the parent tab, you then can click on Parent View Support, and there's a number of pre-answered questions. A lot of you, your questions can be answered. If there is not an answer to your question there, you're going to want to go to your middle school, and you're going to want to make sure that they let you know what documents need to bring. So if you've moved, if you've gotten remarried, any of those life-changing things that would affect anything in Parent View, you're going to want to make sure that any of those changes are made by February 9th. That date is extremely important. After February 9th, no changes can be made because we are uploading information to get ready to launch the high school application. So after that time, if changes are made, we will not be able to honor them for the high school choice process. Extremely important that you mark that date. So between now, February 9th, take care of any changes, current students, if you need to make those changes on Parent View, okay? Now, if you are new to Long Beach, you live here in Long Beach, or you are returning, you were in a Long Beach school for kindergarten or 1st grade, you left and you're coming back, and your address is currently here in Long Beach Unified. You live within our boundaries. A good way to check, if you take a look at the icon, I put it here, you can find your middle school of residence. You go to lbschools.net, then up at the top, again, just like the parent tab, there's a school finder tab, and you will type in your address there. So you'll take that information and you can, it's great. It works with our Google Maps. It'll show you which of the schools is your middle school of residence. So you can see this is the school I need to go to help me with enrollment. Now, if it doesn't pop up, that could mean you live outside of our district boundaries, and there's a different process for you. We'll get into that in a moment. So once you've found your middle school of residence, you're going to contact them starting in December. Our fingers are crossed that our enrollment clerks will be ready on December 1st to support you with our online application. So unlike previous years where you called our office and we started the process for you, we are asking that everybody enroll online with support from your middle school. So some of your middle schools will say, yeah, great, go ahead and start the online enrollment. Others will say, we need to make you an appointment. You will need these documents and you'll need to bring those in. So part of that process will be to set up a Parent View account. That's our online account that we use to interact with parents. You will complete all of the online documents and applications. So there is a process where you will need to upload or take photos of those documents. And also you will have to bring those physically in for an enrollment clerk to verify that what is uploaded is actually what's true. So all of that information, you're a little bit earlier than our current students. That enrollment must be received by February 3rd, 2023. Now, this year, because we are including the fall semester of 8th grade into those documents, you will need to actually, and you may want to wait until you actually get your fall semester 8th grade grades finished. So many of us finished like in January, toward the end of January with that. You can have it unofficial, so they can be as close as you can to getting that information, but you're going to be uploading that. And then we have some personnel on our end that are going to verify all of those documents for you. So all of that enrollment must be received at that time. Okay, so that's it for the prepare phase. I have a feeling that there are some questions, so I'll let the moderators go through those. I do want to get through at least this chunk, and then we can kind of go through, and I think some of them might be specific. I did want to say, if you are a student, when you type in your address and you do not live within the Long Beach boundaries, you will be able to apply. It'll probably be in May. So if you go to our website, I'll show you where to go to take a look at that information. We'll be able to post that again. So unlike previous years, we allowed students outside of the district to go through school of choice. That is not going to be the case this year. So I do want to dig into the explore phase a little bit, and I'll go through all four, and then I'm going to pause to get some questions. Okay, unless Alyssa, you feel like we need to pause now because we have some questions?
No, I think, Stephanie, the questions that I'm seeing are more specific, and I think you're going to touch on them, and then we'll double back afterwards.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into the explore phase. This is all the fun stuff, really exciting things. One of these items I hope you've already engaged in, but the others I will show you exactly how you can take some time to explore some of these career pathways, all of our programs and our specialized programs to make the right choice for you. So let's first start with our choice website. This is your home base. As we get information and it is current, this is where we post it. So here is where you will find our high school choice timeline, site visit dates, important deadlines, our pathway website link, which I'm going to get into in just a little bit. There are some exploration activities. After this broadcast, our parent university workshop will be posted here. You can go back and reference it. You can share it with your friends, and you'll also find some resources. So our timeline here is typically in the center part of the page. So here, and I don't have it, this is a screenshot, but as I scroll down, all of the site visits are listed there. I'm actually going to give you some dates in a moment, but they are all listed there. On the side here, you will find some resources. So you'll find pathways with minimum criteria, both in English and Spanish. You will find a student career interest survey result. For those of you interested in CAMS, you'll find a STEM index. And for those of you interested in special education programs, you want to find out who to contact or which schools will offer a program that is suitable for you. You are going to want to click on these links, and we have them there, both in English and in Spanish. We also have our website listed and our phone number that's listed there to get you the help that you need. So once you visit this particular page, and I'll show you what that looks like toward the end, this is a page you're going to want to bookmark, and you're going to want to check on it often. One of the things I did want to highlight is here on the explore phase, when you get to it, there's a link that says high school pathway websites. That's a really important button. And on my next slide, I'm going to show you what that looks like. When you first click on that button, you're going to get to a screen that looks like the top here, okay? So it'll say, how would you like to explore your options? So if you already think you know what high school you want to go to, you can click on this button, and then this page pops up. All 11 of our high schools are listed here. If you click on the high school, then you get to their pathway website. If that doesn't work for you and you say, you know what, I want to see which industries are listed under my pathway, you can explore by industry. And so our industry areas are here, including our liberal arts and our magnet programs. And so you can search that way. So if you know you really like arts, media, and entertainment, and you'd like to go to a school that offers that pathway, you can kind of research that way. Now, once you link on it, I'll show you on the next page, and I've highlighted Lakewood High School. Go Lancers. They are, by the way, they're in the CIF semifinals this Friday. So we're really excited for them. So I'm going to highlight them tonight. I want to show you what the high school pathway program websites look like. So when you click on Lakewood, down below here, you'll see 5 icons. These are the 5 pathway programs that this school offers. So there's Merit Scholars, which is one of our specialized programs. And then they have 4 programs here that are connected to pathways. Okay, so you can see those here. So what I've done is I'm going to click on ATM. So when I click on ATM, what I see here is this page, and you can find a lot of information here. You'll find a description of the pathway. You will see some entrance criteria. That's on the left-hand side. In the center, you'll click at the top. There's a short YouTube video that's a promotional video for the exact pathway. You can see here, there's a gentleman student. He's going to talk about that pathway. So it'll give you a brief overview of what the pathway looks like. And then it gives you a sample schedule. And I really like this part as a parent, because as you begin to compare pathways, some of you were asking about some of those electives. What you'll see here, the elective is right at the top. So the highlighted elective for that particular pathway, if it's connected to an industry sector, is on the top. So in this particular case here in ATM grades, oh, I'm sorry, I touched my touchpad and it went too fast. So you can see here, grades 9, 10, 11, and 12, there are 4 electives connected to the pathway that are there. And then the other courses, this gives you a sample schedule or a typical schedule of what a student will have. There are always exceptions, but it can kind of give you a snapshot into what a student might be taking. So we know that things change year after year as we upgrade the pathways and we get information on how to make it better. These courses may change, but again, this gives you an idea about the courses that you'll take. On the right-hand side, you can see some of our work-based learning, our industry partners, and it also gives you a link to get more information for that specific pathway. So while you can contact my office, those are the experts. And so if this is something that interests you, I would certainly tell you to get more information from them, but I'm also going to give you another way to get a lot of information about that pathway. The best way, now, some of you have already been to our high school choice fair. Thank you for coming. Check that off your list. You got a brief overview of all of our pathways, and that part is great. So the next step, besides you kind of exploring on your own, is to plan on attending a site visit. All 11 of our high schools will have an opportunity for you to tour the campus, to see classrooms, and experience the culture of the school. Some of our schools will do an open house, drop in anytime you would like. Others, it is a 2-hour experience where they want you there from beginning to end. So generally speaking, and this could change, but our larger schools, it's going to be more of an experience where you're going to show up and get a presentation and then break out into different areas. Our smaller schools have a little bit more flexibility. Some will have you come and go and do tours. So as we get closer to those dates, and you'll see they start in January after the holidays, what we'll do is through School Messenger, we'll be sending out information to you on those days. And I believe the school will as well. So they'll be updating you to let you know, hey, you should show up at this time, come here, come there. And so we'll try to update you on that. But what you can do for now is you can begin to mark your calendars for any of those days that you feel I'm really interested in that school, and I would really like to take a look at that school. I'm not sure if my screenshot will work, but there should be a link down there to visit our website, but you can also go onto our website to see it as well. That's a wonderful way that you can go on and get some information. I strongly encourage you to go to the site visit to take a look at that school. So to summarize, and I know this is confusing, well, how am I going to know how to choose the right pathway? This is so confusing. First thing, please pick a program with an interest area or an industry area that interests you. Sometimes kids pick a pathway because their buddies are going there. Oh, my friends are going over there. Problem with that, sometimes friends change. I have 2 kids in high school. I can tell you that's absolutely true. Friends change. And so then you're stuck at a school with, maybe a pathway area that you're not interested in. You really want to pick something that is of interest to you. We know your mind might change. You of course, you're going to change your mind. You're in 8th grade. How will you know? What can you live with for 4 years? What might be a really good thing for you, at least even to have a skill? You can take that and move on. I think the best advice is bullet number 2. This is what I tell everybody. Attend a site visit. When you go, feel the school. You'll know. You'll walk on that campus and you will feel if it's kind of the right place for you. You're welcome to go to all of the site visits. I went to 7 of the 11 last year. They all have a very different feel. I can tell you honestly, when you get there, you'll know it's the right one. Talk with current students and staff members. What do they say about the school? Can you see yourself there? Is there somebody that you've connected with? Making that connection is really important. Do you see yourself belonging or fitting into this particular school? I think it's important to consider your own strengths. Do you really love learning? Do you really want to challenge yourself and go into our specialized programs? Awesome. If you're not sure, or you're really interested in a particular industry sector, know what your strengths are. Some of you may have some untapped strengths you don't even think about. As I tell my own children, you can do more than you think you can. So really think about your own strengths. This is really important. Know how you learn best and really look for that. Do you learn best in a really small community? Is that really great? Are you a hands-on kind of person? Do you like really big courses? Do you want to be part of something big, larger, comprehensive? That's important. And make sure when you go to those site visits, you should ask a lot of questions. Those of you that came to our high school choice fair, we provided you with a list of questions. Ask those questions. Don't be afraid to do that. I know that a lot of our student volunteers, they're eager to hear from you. Ask them. And I think it's important to know what might be true for one student may not be true for another. I know what the kids are thinking right now. Mom, I need to know which one has the least amount of homework, or who's going to give the most amount of homework. That's up to you. Some kids take 20 minutes to do homework. Other kids take an hour. That's up to you. So you really have to know your own strengths when you think about that. But again, the more students you talk to, you'll get a better feel for which pathway is right for you. Okay. All right. I am going to go into the application phase just a little bit because there's only a few slides, and then I'll talk about the assignment phase. And we're getting close to the question and answer period. I'm sure your brains are ticking, the little hamsters going in your head, and we'll certainly get to that in a little bit. So first, I want to let you know the high school choice application window is February 15th through the 24th. It is short. However, it will not take that long to apply. It's a very simple process. There is no advantage for you to go on early. There's no disadvantage for you to go on late. It's not first come, first serve. The window is open. When it shuts down, that's when everything begins to process. So I just wanted to let you know that. Mark your calendars for the 15th through the 24th. Now, some of you may recognize this from when you applied in 5th grade. So parents, you will access the application through Parent View. Those of you that are new to our district or going to be new and tuning in, you will get this account when you register. On the side, there's many, many tabs. And over here, it's a little bit farther down. I agree, it should be up higher. It isn't. But you'll find the tab that is called School of Choice. Then once you click on that, make sure the right student is at the top, by the way, because if you don't have the right student, you won't get to the correct application. So you'll want to make sure you click, for those of you that have multiple children, I should say. So up here, make sure you have the right child, and you're going to click on the 8th grade parents to open the School of Choice application. Okay. Now I'm going to let you know, we will have a video that will be posted on our website. Once we finalize that, it's going to be a how-to video, step-by-step to complete the application. But I am here to tell you the first thing you have to do is you will have to pick a program at your school of residence. So wherever it is that you live, the first one, it's called the default pathway, because if all things fall apart, you will be placed there. So I want you to know that you are ranking or selecting your preferences. So it's not a guarantee, but you're saying, listen, if all else fails, I know this is my high school of residence. However, these are the other 3 choices that I would really, really like to be considered for. So there's really one choice, it's your home school. And then you have up to 3 additional programs, and then you will rank your preferences. Some students like to pick all 3 at one school, plus their high school. Others will choose all 3 pathways connected to a theme, arts or engineering. Completely up to you. You will decide what you'd like to place there. And so I really want you to think about what you really want to choose first. That's the program you really want. It will not be as if you have a choice of the 3. It goes in order. So when we place students, we go to the first choice. Those will fill. And then once all of the first choices are full, we go to the second choice. So you will not get an application that says you've been accepted to all 3 of your choices. You get one of them. So the reason why we're a big public school, every student needs to have a place in the district. So it's not colleges that are unlimited. I like to use the analogy of going to a restaurant when you're waiting for a table and the host says, okay, we're going to seat you. There might be tons of seats available, but you have to sit in an area where there is a server, where somebody's going to be available to serve you. Same thing happens here. So we can't give you all 3 of your choices. We can only give you one. So we go in order: first choice, second choice, third choice. And then obviously, if you've put your high school of residence as your 4th choice, there are some certain cases where students will fall out of all 3 of their selections, and you do get placed at your school of residence. So once that is done, you will certify. You have to make sure that you toggle a little button, and then your application is turned in. You'll get confetti, and it's submitted and turned in. You can go back and decertify. You can decide, you know what, I want to change my mind, as long as you do it within that window. For those of you that are interested in some of our special ed programs, or those of you that are choosing school of choice, I must let you know transportation is not provided to any school of choice. So for those of you in a special ed program that have transportation provided for you, we will try to honor that. But if you are choosing to go to your school of choice, we cannot guarantee transportation. I promise you during our application video, we'll take a deeper dive into the application, but I just wanted you to see where to access it. So if you're a parent, you'll know where to get started. Okay, so let's go over some limitations. I think I touched on a few of these already. Students are given residential priority, and this is for Ed Code, only when they select a program at their school of residence as their first choice. We want to try and honor your first choice. So when you select your residential school as your first choice, you will be given priority. If you live in the Poly area and you choose to go to CIC, you will be given residential priority. If you live in the Jordan area and you pick SACMA, you will be given residential priority. So you will be placed before students coming that are not residents. That does not apply to your second and your third choice. So it is important. If that residential school is something that you want, you really have to pick that first. Students who do not complete an application cannot be automatically placed at their high school of residence. When you were in middle school, if you didn't fill out an application, we tried as best we could to put you at your school of residence. That does not apply in high school. So typically what happens is if a student does not fill out an application, once everybody is placed, the students are placed at a school where there's room. We try to get you near your home school because we figure that'll be easier for you to get to. But in some cases, some of those programs are full and we can't place you there. So it is extremely important to make sure that you fill out that application. So tell your friends, we need to fill out this application. And I know that your middle school counselors are available to help you. Priority placement is not given to a middle school that feeds into a high school. That's extremely important to know. Just because you've chosen to go to a school of choice middle school and there's a neighboring high school that's there, it doesn't mean you'll automatically get in. So that's important. It all depends on your residential address. That's why it's important to make sure your parent view account is updated. Transportation is not provided to any school of choice. So if you are choosing a school, we do not provide transportation. We do have some resources, and so you can use our public transportation. Students are given a TAP card. You can get that from your school, and you can certainly ride the city bus for free, but our district unfortunately does not provide transportation. I also want to note that our thematic high schools, our smaller high schools, they are not considered residential schools, even if you live directly across the street. So our residential high schools are our big comprehensive schools. So if you would like a thematic high school, you need to pick that first and make sure that that is one of your choices in your preferences. Okay. All right. That was a mouthful. We're going to get to the assignment phase in a minute, and then I'm going to take some questions. When you're assigned, once you turn everything in, it takes us some time to process. Our computer takes it. We meet with our high schools. And so you will be placed and notified of your placement March 10th. Okay. How does that work, Miss Stephanie? How does this work? First of all, I want you to know every effort is made to place students in one of their program selections. every single effort. We've done a really good job over the past few years. I'll give you some data, but I need you to know some of the considerations. Number one of the factors is how many seats are available in the pathway for your incoming freshman class. It isn't unlimited. I wish it was, but it's not. So some of our programs can only take so many students. That number does vary. That is a really good question for you to ask at your site night. Number two, and this is another consideration, how many other of my friends are going to be applying for the same program? So in some cases, there are more students that apply than there are spaces for. Many of our programs, I must tell you, everybody gets in that applies and puts it first choice. But some of our other programs, that is not the case. So let me give you some data. I want you to know last year, for approximately 5,000 eighth graders, that's right, that's not a typo. We have 5,000 eighth graders in our district. 93% of those students got their first choice, 93%. So that can go, okay, whew, that feels really, really good. So that was our first choice acceptance rate. Students put a program first choice, they were able to be accepted. 93% is very high. So now let's get a little bit into the details. Some of these programs here are what we call frequently selected programs. They are impacted. That means usually there are more students to apply than there are spaces for. In that case, that means not everybody who selected the program is going to be accepted. I'm going to give you 2 years worth of data here because I think it's important to know the trends. Now, certainly there is no way for us to predict. We don't know year after year where the students will go. Every class is different, but you can see that some of the programs here are impacted year after year. So 2020, 2021 for students right now that are currently sophomores, this is the list of our programs and high schools that there were more applicants than there were spaces for. So that means not everybody got their first choice. Last year, we added a few programs to that list as well. That does mean last year, so for this current freshman class, the students that put this down first choice, they didn't all get in. So remember, if you're a resident of that school and you put it down first choice, 100% of the residents got in. That does not apply to CAMS, by the way, because CAMS works a little differently, but 100% of the residents that lived in these areas picking a program did get in. So that is because we give priority first choices to any resident that puts a program down first. I want to be very transparent with you because some of you are thinking, wow, okay, I should put this down. I'm not trying to tell you to game the system, but if you're a student that wants to go to Poly and your first 3 choices are going to be beach, meds, and pack rim, and you're not a resident, your second and your third choice for meds and pack rim might be very, very difficult. Those are going to fill with first choices. So putting it down second or third, you can think of it as a wasted choice, but it's going to fill with first choices. So it's really important to consider, what does my first choice want to be? Because I might not get my second and my third. So your sites, when you go to your site visits, they can give you some specific information on that. But I like to give you some data just so you know these are what we call our impacted programs or our frequently selected programs. Okay. Now, how will I be notified of my assignment? We're going to send you a school messenger and we'll say, hey, everybody, at this particular time on March 10th, your assignments are posted on Parent View. You could throw a party, you could take a look, you could take pictures. For most of you, that's going to be a really wonderful, fun day. By the way, it usually happens in the afternoon. Some of you might be disappointed and you might think, oh no, I didn't get my choice. Again, we're going to try. We have a really good track record of getting students into their school of choice, but we will post the assignments on Parent View. So you would go back into your Parent View account, you go to school of choice, and you will see your assignment posted there. Many of you can rejoice and be happy. Some of you might not be as happy. So let's talk about what happens if you're not happy, if you're one of that 7% that doesn't get your first choice. Linked when you get your assignment is 2 links. Actually, there'll be, I think, 2 or 3 that will link you to what we call an appeals process. Okay. Appeals are a review of the school of choice application. So what you're saying is, please review my application. There are 3 options for appeals. Number 1, I'd like to return to my school of residence. I know I picked that one, but I didn't think about transportation and I'm just not going to be able to make it. So if you need to return, to your school of residence, you'll fill that out. Number 2, I have a sibling that currently attends that school. So I have a sibling at Poly. I know that Poly's not our home school, but I have a sibling there. And of course, I don't want to make that hard on your parents unless you want to go to a different school. But if the computer doesn't always pick up on that, we want to make sure that you attend the same school as your sibling. So again, we're limited with space, but if there's space available, we're going to try to get you in. Our third option, and this can apply to a few of you, 6th grade for you all was an online learning experience. Some of you, you were like, this was the best thing ever. You did amazingly well in 6th grade. Others of you might be saying, no, 6th grade was hard for a variety of reasons, and we understand. And I know for our students that are in for their freshman class this year, 7th grade was hard for them. So there is a third option. If you would like us to review your GPA, or you were lower on your SBAC and you feel virtual learning had an impact on my score, we are asking you to fill that out. Now you have to be close to the GPA. If there's a program that's asking for a 3.7 GPA and you currently have a 2.5, we can't really consider and review GPA. But if you're short by just a little bit, you're really close and you're on the edge and on the cusp, or you're missing an SBAC score, or you're missing a GPA score, we want you to fill out that particular appeal. Last year, we had this option and we were able to approve almost 30 students that got into the pathways of their choice through our appeals. So that actual first choice acceptance rate goes up just a little bit with that additional couple of students that were able to get accepted on that. So we did want to mention appeals. And if you need help with that, our office can help, but so can your middle school of residence. They can also help you. So I want to go back to this because we have a lot of information and I'm sure there's a lot of questions. What are my next steps? My brain is exploding, Miss Stephanie. I don't even know what to do. Let me remind you of these steps because it's really important. Number 1, pick a program that is of interest to you. You've got to have it for 4 years. Make sure you are interested in it. You're planning for your future life. And yes, I'm talking to you 8th graders. You're planning for your future life. So you really want to think about that. You should attend site visits and feel that school as much as possible. Try to get there, look around, feel like, really pause and think, is this for me? Because that's the best way you can think if it's the right feel for you. Talk with current students and staff members, ask them all the questions you can think about. Think about what you're good at. Think about your strengths, know how you learn best, and where would you best fit for high school. And that's really important for you to really think about this next 4 years of your life. You're kind of starting over. Middle school will be done. This is it. You have 4 more years of school really until you're in college. And for many of you, you kind of might be on your own. I know you're ready for that. And it should be a really exciting time. So I'm going to pause. I think we've gone over our 2 goals. We did our knowing that the school choice process involves picking a high school and a program. We went over a lot of elements of the choice phase. And now we're going to get into our 3rd, where we're going to ask some questions. And so again, I just want to remind you, we'll be using our chat feature and we're going to save that chat. I know we don't have a ton of time, but we certainly will go over that. And if you have specific questions, it's specific just to you, or you need a specific answer, we want you to make sure you go to that question form and that will come directly to me. I will start answering those tomorrow. And then for those of you in Long Beach Unified, you know that next week is some vacay. So I won't be answering some of those questions then, but once we get back, I will begin to go through. I'll answer some tomorrow, but once that form is done, we'll answer that. Before we begin, I want to give you some info, okay? You'll want to jot down this number. That is our helpline. You're going to be leaving a message on that number. And then one of our staff members will be returning that call to you, or you can email us, and we have a new email. It's hsmschoicehelp@lbschools.net. And again, because we're going to be on vacation next week, allow us a little bit of time to get you a response for that. But I'll leave this up so you can either take a picture of it or type it in there. But Miss Alyssa, I'm going to turn it back to you. I know we have some questions. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a drink of water really quick, and then I want to answer any questions that have come up. And by the way, for those of you that don't have any questions, I'm going to bid you a wonderful evening. And I really appreciate you taking the time to join us on our meeting. If you are free to log out, this will be posted later for all of the slides. And so you can have that there, but I'll stay on and try to answer as many questions as I can for our community members that are on.
Thank you, Stephanie. You did an excellent job. Very, very thorough. We do have some questions that I think you've covered, and I have a suggestion. I'm going to share a few, but some of them, let's try to put a quick doc together tomorrow and share out, because they might be a little too specific.
That sounds great. Yeah, and what I'll do too is after we're done, we'll go through those questions. I do want to generate an FAQ, a frequently answered questions or asked questions document. I don't know if I can get that together tomorrow to post before our break, but I certainly will post that on our website. Okay. So a lot of them are general, and we can certainly put that together.
So I'll just ask a few right now. One of the questions has to do with if a student has an IEP, is the process the same? And I know you mentioned it, but I think it's important to.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, students with IEPs are absolutely welcome to go through the choice process. I would strongly encourage you to get in contact with your middle school, and I would talk to the counselor there, because depending on the stipulations of the IEP, not all schools will offer a program that you need. So while you are welcome to go through the choice process, and you certainly can pick any school, I want to make sure that we honor the recommendations in the IEP. So I think it would be important to talk to the school counselor and think about what the needs are as you begin to look at those programs. And so when you go to site visits as well, it would be great to talk to one of their special ed representatives, and so they can kind of give you some more information on IEPs. But you are absolutely welcome to go through the choice process just like everybody else.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I think might be helpful. This parent was wanting to know if her first two choices are at the same school, but different pathways. Is that fine to do, to have the first two choices, the same school with different pathways?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're welcome to choose. So some kids say, I just want to go to this school, so I'm going to pick pathway at the same school. And that's great. So when the computer kind of looks through and generates it, it'll go through the first choice. Once that fills, it'll go to the second choice. If it's at the same school, great. If it isn't at the same school, it will honor whatever your second choice is. So you can absolutely pick all of them at the same school. If it's your neighborhood school, you can pick all four at your neighborhood school. It's completely up to you. But yes, you are welcome to do that. Absolutely.
Thank you. I think you mentioned this, but just again, can pathways be changed throughout the high school tenure, or do they need to stay the same? That's a really good
question. Yeah, and I didn't touch upon that.
Okay.
The simple answer is not really. And here's why. The pathways are designed so that you get a course sequence through all 4 years. If you're switching pathways, you don't get the course sequence and you can't complete the pathway course sequence. There are some cases when you can, and it's really up to the high school once you're in to do that. I will just tell you, it's really difficult and very hard. A lot of it is based on space availability. So you can see with some of our impacted pathways, they're full. So what some parents try to do is they say, well, I'll pick a pathway at a school that's not impacted. I'll get into the school, and then I'll just switch pathways. That's not going to be allowed. So the high school office is generally saying no to that. They're full. And so even if they did allow you, if the pathway is full, they can't move you into something that's full. So I know some parents like to do that. That's just a policy that probably isn't going to work. So it's really important to think about it, think about something that you can really live with, because once you're in that pathway, I don't want to say you're stuck, but certainly you are there. Now, keep in mind, if you don't get into an arts pathway, for example, you still can take the electives. And so what some schools say is you have to take the pathway elective, but if there's room in your schedule, once you begin to meet the requirements, like you need 4 years of English, so you're going to need to take that. But if you've met the math requirement or the science requirement, there might be some room that's free in your schedule where you can take an additional elective. And so that would be a specific question that you can ask at those sites when you go there.
Thank you. Thank you. Another quick question. If the default pathway is their number one choice, do they have to duplicate that in the choice options?
Absolutely not. If your default pathway, if your neighborhood school is your first choice, you can choose it first, leave it up there. You can choose nothing else. And especially if it's a pathway that's not impacted, you have a 99.999% chance of getting in. I wouldn't tell anybody it's guaranteed, but let's say, for example, your home school is Lakewood and you're picking Lakewood Hosum. Last year and this year, Hosum was not an impacted pathway, but if you're a resident of Lakewood and it's your first choice, there's like a 99.999% chance you are going to get in. We haven't seen it where residents have not been able to get in when they fill out an application for those pathways. I do want to caution you that if it is a specialized pathway, there is no residential priority. I'm sorry, not specialized. Let me backtrack. If there is a pathway that ranks you top GPA from top down, which some of our pathways do, you're not guaranteed to get in even if you are a resident. I'll use an example. I want to go to Wilson Wave and I'm a resident. Well, Wilson Wave is 3.7 as their lowest minimum GPA and then higher. It could happen, and it has happened in the past. If there are 200, this is crazy, but if there are 200 students who apply to Wave that have a 4.0 and you have a 3.7, you may not get into that pathway, even though you're a resident, because in that case, the residential priority is waived. It's GPA top down. So unfortunately, if you're at the lower end of the threshold, it is a little bit of a gamble because some of the others that might kind of boost you up. Last year, all of those specialized pathways, anybody that put it first was accepted, but we don't know year to year what will happen. My data doesn't show it in this presentation, but 3 years ago, we had more students than could be accepted in PACE, WAVE, and QUEST. So that hasn't happened in a while, but it can happen. So again, I would certainly go to the site visits and talk to them a little bit about some data. They can give you some information when thinking about applying to those pathways. Alyssa, I think you are still muted.
Thank you.
I'm so glad I got this. I thought I was not going to say that the whole night, but there we are.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Sure.
This question might be a follow-up question, but in short, pathways that have GPA requirements, are those requirements listed anywhere? Is it a quick place for them to find
They
that
are.
information?
I'm going to go back to my slides a little bit. I mean, if you just flick through a little bit, they are listed. So let me go back to our website. So a couple of places, and I don't want to click on because I'm at home and my signal is weak, so I don't want to lose it. Here, right here where it says pathways with the minimum criteria. So when you go to our website, they are here in English and in Spanish. So that's a document that shows them all. And then if you go to the pathway website link, which is here in the center, you can get to the specifics. So I'll show you Lakewood's, for example. Whoops. So here, as you click onto the pathway, that entrance criteria is here for that particular pathway. And so that's 2 places where you can go to see those entrance requirements. And so those are listed there. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I think the rest of the questions are more specific in nature and will require more of an in-depth conversation. But I know you shared a lot of information. And if our parents are anything like me, they kind of have to sit on it and let it absorb a little bit. And so, as you said, you'll send out a FAQ.
Yep.
We'll have some follow-up communication regarding school choice. You'll be hearing a lot about it over the coming weeks and months and so forth. And so I just wanted to thank everyone for coming. We are right around the corner from a holiday week. I hope however you celebrate Thanksgiving, however you celebrate you and your family, I hope you have a wonderful week, get some rest, stay safe, enjoy some good food. And we look forward to seeing you very soon in our next Parent University webinar. Thank you so much for coming. And Stephanie and Chris and your team and Melissa and everyone, we're so grateful for your support and we look forward to seeing you real soon.
Thank you, everybody. It's been my pleasure. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.